In a world where everyone feels the need to explain themselves, defend their choices, and constantly prove their worth, silence has become rare. And because it is rare, it has become powerful. Most people talk too much. They react too fast. They chase validation, attention, and understanding from people who were never meant to give it. And every time they do, they give away a little more control. Stoic philosophy teaches something radically different. It teaches that strength is not found in arguments, but in restraint. Not in being seen everywhere, but in being grounded within yourself. When you stop reacting, people notice. When you stop explaining, curiosity grows. When you focus on yourself, your presence becomes heavier, without saying a word. Today, we will explore why focusing on yourself and staying silent is not weakness, but discipline. Not avoidance, but mastery. And why letting others wonder about you is one of the most powerful Stoic strategies you can practice. Remember this as we begin. My silence is my power. 1. Silence makes them feel your absence. There is a moment most people fear but rarely admit. The moment they stop reaching out. The moment they stop explaining. The moment they go quiet and wonder, will anyone even notice I'm gone? That fear is exactly why silence is so powerful. Most people believe presence is proven by noise, messages, calls, long explanations, emotional reactions. They think that if they stop talking, they will disappear. But the truth is harsher and more liberating. People rarely value what is constantly available. They feel it most when it is withdrawn. Stoic philosophy understood this long before modern psychology. When you remove your attention, you remove the fuel. Attention is currency. Silence is the act of reclaiming it. Think about the times you explained yourself too much, when you sent the long message hoping to be understood, when you defended your intentions to someone who had already decided how they would see you. Did it bring peace, or did it make you feel smaller? Silence does something words never can. It forces reflection. When you stop reacting, the other person is left alone with their own thoughts. Your absence becomes a mirror, and mirrors are uncomfortable. This is why silence feels like punishment to those who seek control. They want reactions, they want reassurance, they want to know they still matter in your mental space. When you go silent, you quietly take that power back. This does not mean disappearing out of spite. Stoic silence is not emotional manipulation. It is emotional discipline. It is choosing dignity over impulse. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you always have the option of having no opinion. Silence is not weakness, it is restraint, and restraint is strength. When you stop chasing closure, you create space. When you stop explaining, you establish boundaries. When you stop reacting, you send a message without speaking. My peace matters more than this moment. At first, silence will feel unnatural. Your mind will race. You will imagine misunderstandings, worst-case scenarios, and judgments being formed in your absence. This is the withdrawal phase. You are breaking a habit of emotional overexposure. And like any habit, it resists being broken. But if you stay still, something shifts. The urgency fades. The need to be seen softens. You begin to recognize how often you gave access to people who never earned it. Silence becomes a filter, separating those who value you from those who only valued your reactions. People will notice the absence not because you vanished, but because you stopped feeding the dynamic that once kept things alive. Silence changes the balance. It shifts the power from reaction to presence. Try this. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause, breathe, say nothing. Let the discomfort exist without fixing it. That discomfort is growth. In that space, you will feel something unfamiliar but grounding. Self-respect. Silence does not chase. It does not beg. It is not convincing. It simply withdraws and lets reality speak. And when your absence is finally felt, you will realize something profound. You were never powerless. You were just too available. Silence didn't make you disappear. It revealed your value. That realization is the beginning of strength, clarity, and control, returning quietly back to you over time, steadily. 2. Focusing on yourself reclaims your power. At some point, you were taught to watch others more than yourself, to monitor reactions, moods, approval, and rejection. Slowly, without noticing, your attention drifted outward. And wherever attention goes, power follows. This is how people lose themselves. Not through one dramatic failure, but through daily distractions, checking who responded, wondering what they think, adjusting behavior to maintain connection. Each small shift pulls you further away from your own center. Stoic philosophy cuts through this quietly. It reminds you that your energy is finite, and what you give it to will shape who you become. When your focus is scattered, your strength is diluted. When your focus returns inward, something stabilizes. Marcus Aurelius warned that we waste most of our lives worrying about things outside our control. Opinions, outcomes, other people's emotions, none of these belong to you, yet they often occupy your entire mental space. Focusing on yourself is not selfishness, it is stewardship. It is deciding that your time, discipline, and inner state are worth protecting. When you stop scanning others for validation, you begin to hear yourself again. Your values sharpen, your decisions simplify. You no longer ask, "How will this look?" You ask, "Is this aligned with who I choose to be?" This shift is uncomfortable at first. You may feel guilt for not engaging, anxiety for not responding, fear of being forgotten. But these emotions reveal how dependent your sense of worth has become on external feedback. The Stoic path teaches a different metric: progress over approval, integrity over image, action over explanation. Start small. Each morning, choose 3 actions that benefit your life regardless of who notices. Train your body, learn something difficult, improve one neglected area. Do it quietly, do it consistently. As your focus tightens, your presence changes. You become less reactive, less available, less predictable. Not because you are cold, but because you are anchored. People sense this. They feel the difference when your attention is no longer orbiting them. Some will respect it, others will resist it. Both reactions are information. When you focus on yourself, you stop negotiating your worth. You no longer perform. You simply exist with direction. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when we stop allowing our peace to depend on what others do. Focus is how that freedom is built daily. You may lose certain connections, not because you changed for the worse, but because the relationship depended on you being unfocused. That loss creates space. Space for growth. Space for alignment. Focus restores gravity to your life. Your words carry more weight because they are fewer. Your actions matter more because they are deliberate. Your silence becomes credible because it is backed by discipline. You are not withdrawing from the world, you are returning to yourself. And when your power is no longer leaking outward, it begins to accumulate. Quietly, steadily, without announcement. That is what real strength feels like when it comes back home. This is the work no one applauds, but everyone eventually notices. Focus builds a life that does not beg to be seen. It stands firm on its own foundation, patient, grounded, and unmoved by noise. That kind of power cannot be taken, only earned through daily choice made repeatedly without witnesses or applause. 3. Explaining yourself is a form of self-betrayal. There is a quiet exhaustion that comes from constantly trying to be understood. You replay conversations in your head. You draft messages longer than necessary. You explain your intentions again and again, hoping clarity will finally bring peace. It rarely does. Most explanations are not given to people who want to understand. They're given to people who want control, reassurance, or leverage. And each time you over-explain, you step into a courtroom you never agreed to enter. You become the defendant of your own life. Stoic philosophy is uncompromising here. Epictetus warned that if you want to improve, you must be willing to appear foolish to those who do not know your principles. In other words, stop trying to win approval from people who were never meant to be your judges. When you explain yourself excessively, you hand over authority. You tell others that your choices require their permission. You teach them that confusion can be resolved if they apply enough pressure. That is not communication. That is self-betrayal. Think about the moments you felt the smallest. They often followed explanations. You shared too much. You justified a boundary. You defended a decision that already felt right inside. And afterward, you didn't feel relieved. You felt drained. That drain is the cost of abandoning your inner compass. Stoicism teaches that your values are proven through action, not narration. You do not explain integrity. You live it. You do not argue for discipline. You demonstrate it. Silence allows your behavior to speak without interference. This does not mean becoming distant or cruel. It means becoming selective. It means recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your reasoning, your emotions, or your inner world. The urge to explain often comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being rejected, fear of losing connection. But clarity does not come from saying more. It comes from standing still long enough for the truth to settle. Here is a simple practice. The next time you feel the urge to send a long message, stop, write it, read it, then do not send it. Ask yourself one question instead. Is my integrity already intact without this explanation? If the answer is yes, silence is the correct response. Over time, something powerful happens. People either adjust their expectations or remove themselves. Both outcomes restore balance. You're no longer negotiating your worth in paragraphs. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to waste time explaining what a good person is. Be one. That reminder applies here. When your life is aligned, explanations become unnecessary. Your silence becomes clean. Your boundaries become clear. Your energy stays with you instead of leaking outward. You will still be misunderstood at times. Accept that. Being misunderstood is a small price to pay for self-respect. When you stop explaining, you stop performing. When you stop performing, you reclaim your life. That is not withdrawal. That is sovereignty. And sovereignty begins the moment you decide that your peace no longer needs permission from anyone else. This discipline will feel lonely before it feels liberating. But stay with it, because the day you choose restraint over reassurance is the day you finally step back into ownership of your time, attention, and identity without apology, ever. 4. Silence reveals who deserves access to you. Silence is a test few people pass, not because it is cruel, but because it removes the comfort of constant engagement. When you stop explaining, reacting, and filling the space, you allow truth to surface. Patterns emerge, motives reveal themselves, and suddenly you can see clearly who values you and who only valued access. Most relationships survive on noise, messages, reassurance, emotional labor, availability. When that noise disappears, the connection is exposed. Some people lean closer, respectful of the boundary. Others become impatient, offended, or angry. That reaction tells you everything. Stoic philosophy teaches that access is earned, not assumed. Epictetus warned against giving your inner world to anyone who has not demonstrated virtue. Silence becomes the gatekeeper. It quietly decides who may enter and who must remain outside. When you go silent, pay attention. Who reaches out with care rather than pressure? Who respects your space without demanding explanation? who becomes hostile when they no longer receive immediate reactions. These are not random responses. They are revelations. This is why silence is uncomfortable for manipulative people. They rely on predictability. They need you to respond on cue. When you don't, their influence weakens, and instead of confronting their behavior, they often reveal it. You're not responsible for managing other people's discomfort with your boundaries. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that if something external disturbs you, the disturbance comes from your judgment. Silence helps you remove yourself from that cycle. There will be moments when silence feels like distance, like loss. You may grieve connections that fade. But what you are really losing is an illusion. A relationship sustained only by your constant effort was never balanced. Silence gives you data. It shows you who respects your autonomy and who resents it, who listens without demanding, who stays without chasing, who leaves when they can no longer control the narrative. With this awareness, your standards evolve. You stop giving everyone equal access. You become intentional, not closed, but selective. Try this practice. For 7 days, reduce unnecessary responses. No emotional explanations. No immediate reactions. Observe instead. Write down what changes, who adjusts, who disappears, who escalates. You are not judging them. You are learning. Over time, silence refines your circle. It filters noise from substances. It leaves you surrounded by fewer people, but stronger connections. This is not isolation, it is alignment. When you understand that access to you is a privilege, your energy stops leaking. Your presence becomes deliberate, and the people who remain are there by choice, not convenience. Silence does not punish. It clarifies, and clarity is what allows you to build a life with boundaries, respect, and peace that no longer depends on who demands your attention today or tomorrow. In that clarity, you begin to trust yourself again. You stop doubting every pause. You stop filling space out of fear. Silence becomes a quiet ally, reminding you that you choose how close others stand. You're allowed to step back. You're allowed to observe. You're allowed to protect your inner order without apology. When access is intentional, relationships deepen naturally, and your life regains a calm structure that supports growth instead of draining it. This stability strengthens character, patience, confidence, direction, and inner resilience. 5. Let them wonder. Mystery is strength. Silence creates mystery because it removes the script people expect you to follow. When you stop narrating your life, others fill the gap with curiosity. They project assumptions, questions, and meaning. Mystery is not deception. It is the natural result of discipline replacing disclosure. Calm presence becomes louder than explanations. When you speak less, people listen more closely, not to your words, but to your actions. Consistency replaces persuasion. Presence replaces performance. This unsettles those who relied on your availability. Mystery threatens control because control needs constant feedback. Silence interrupts that loop and restores balance. Without drama, noise, or explanation. Stoic wisdom never chased attention. It cultivated gravity. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire without explaining himself to the crowd. His authority came from alignment, not announcement. Letting others wonder is not arrogance. It is respect for your inner order and chosen direction. Over time, composure communicates more than arguments ever. When you allow mystery, you stop managing perceptions. You stop correcting misunderstandings that were never yours to fix. People reveal their maturity through patience. Those who demand explanations reveal insecurity. Silence becomes a quiet standard that sorts relationships without confrontation or conflict. Naturally, gently, consistently, over time, without force applied. Mystery protects your energy. When everything about you is accessible, nothing feels valuable. When your life has edges, people approach with care. Silence signals depth. It suggests a life in progress, not a performance seeking applause or permission. This restraint attracts respect and discourages trivial intrusion from careless observers everywhere. Many fear being misunderstood, but misunderstanding is unavoidable. Chasing clarity makes you smaller. Accepting mystery makes you solid. You do not need to correct every narrative. Your character will outlast rumors, projections, and temporary confusion. Time rewards consistency more reliably than explanations, especially under pressure and emotional uncertainty for everyone. Letting them wonder means letting go of control. You release the urge to steer opinions. You accept that silence may cost popularity, but it earns something better: stability, authority, peace. These grow only when you stop performing. Consistent action replaces emotional bargaining and public justification without regret afterward or apology. In social spaces, mystery commands attention without asking. In work, it signals confidence. In relationships, it restores polarity. Silence invites curiosity, not confusion. It encourages others to lean in rather than lean on you. This shift changes dynamics quietly and permanently, without arguments, ultimatums, or explanations from you again ever. Practice this deliberately. Speak when necessary. Act consistently. Let silence frame your life. Resist the urge to overshare victories or wounds. Depth grows in privacy. Strength compounds when witnessed only by you. Daily discipline replaces impulsive disclosure and emotional leakage that weakens boundaries and clarity over long stretches of time. When you stop filling silence, it starts working for you. People project curiosity instead of certainty. Their questions replace your explanations. You remain centered. This is power without aggression, influence without noise. It aligns with Stoic restraint and inner mastery, built through patience, clarity, and discipline over many years quietly. Let them wonder while you build. Let silence guard your direction. You owe no performance. You owe no explanation. Your life speaks clearly when you live it deliberately, consistently, and with self-respect at the center. That composure becomes an unmistakable strength others feel without understanding fully, and respect instinctively in time. 6. The Stoic Code. Focus. Silence. Detachment. The Stoic Code is simple, but it is not easy. Focus. Silence. Detachment. These are not attitudes. They are daily disciplines that protect your inner order. Focusing on yourself means placing your attention where your power actually lives. Your actions, your standards, your character. It means choosing effort over opinion, progress over applause, and alignment over approval. Silence is the shield that keeps that focus intact. Without silence, your energy bleeds outward. You react, you justify, you explain, and slowly your attention becomes scattered, diluted, and exhausted. Detachment is the final layer. It does not mean indifference. It means refusing to let outcomes dictate your inner state. You act with care, then release the result. You stay present, but not attached. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when we stop trying to control what is not ours. Other people's reactions, interpretations, and judgments belong to them. Your task is to govern your own. This code changes how you move through the world. You stop rushing to be understood. You stop correcting every assumption. You stop chasing emotional resolution. Instead, you invest that energy inward. There will be moments when detachment feels like loss. People may accuse you of being distant, cold, or changed. Let them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that it is better to live with truth than to perform for praise. When you combine focus, silence, and detachment, something stabilizes. Your emotions slow, your decisions sharpen. Your life becomes quieter, but more solid. You begin to respond instead of react. You choose your words carefully, or not at all. You allow space without filling it. That space becomes your strength. The Stoic code is not about retreating from life. It is about meeting life without surrendering yourself. You stay engaged but unentangled. Practice this daily. Focus on what you can improve. Remain silent when noise tempts you. Detach from outcomes once you have acted with integrity. Over time, this becomes your natural posture. You are no longer pulled outward. You are anchored, and when life tests you, as it always will, you will find that your power is still with you, quiet, unmoved, intact. This is the discipline that builds an unshakable inner fortress. No applause, no audience, just you, standing steady in your own values, prepared to continue forward without explanation, distraction, or regret. Carry this code into ordinary moments. Meetings, disagreements, delays, and disappointments will challenge it. Pause, return to breath. Ask what is yours to do. Then do it, fully, calmly, without announcing intentions or seeking reassurance. Let time reveal results. Let others interpret freely. Your responsibility ends with effort and virtue. Nothing else belongs to you. When doubt appears, remember why you chose this path. Noise never made anyone wise. Reaction never built character. Consistency did. So keep your focus. Guard your silence. Practice detachment. This is how Stoics endure storms, hold course, and arrive unchanged at the core. Everything essential stays with you. Everything unnecessary falls away. That is not emptiness. It is freedom, earned slowly, chosen daily, and protected without spectacle. Stand there. Breathe. Continue. This way of living will not impress everyone, but it will finally impress you, because your life feels owned, directed, and whole. Even when no one is watching, questioning, or applauding anything you do at all anymore inside yourself. Today, we explored a quiet truth that most people never learn until exhaustion forces them to stop. Power does not come from being louder, clearer, or more available. It comes from discipline, from focus, from silence, from the courage to let go of what was never yours to control. You learned why silence makes your absence felt, why focusing on yourself restores strength, why over-explaining betrays your inner compass, why silence reveals who truly deserves access to you, why mystery is not weakness, but gravity. And finally, how the Stoic code, focus, silence, and detachment, creates an inner stability that cannot be shaken by noise, opinion, or pressure. This philosophy is not meant to be admired. It is meant to be practiced. So for the next 7 days, try this. Focus on one thing you can improve each day. Stay silent where you would normally react. Detach from outcomes after you act with integrity. No announcements, no explanations, just consistency. If this message resonated with you, it's because a part of you is ready to live with more intention and less noise. Thank you for spending this time here, reflecting and growing. If you found value in this video, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs this reminder. Until the next video, stay disciplined, stay grounded, and remember, your silence is not emptiness, it is strength.